Alright guys, quick edit here. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to do this. It might be unnecessary for some people. I like to do this mainly because all I bought is secondhand birds. Necessarily, you probably aren't going to have to do it with the new bird. But, you know, you take your time, you enjoy what you're doing. This is part of the fun. So do it right, you know. And what I like to do is I like to pop these out. I talked about it earlier. I'm going to show you a quick way of getting these out without damaging them. What I like to do is, you're going to pull this off. So it should be this guy right here. So we're going to pull this knuckle off. Loosen that up. Drop that down right there. Okay, you got this side exposed. Take a rag. Wrap the rag around. If you don't have a heat gun, you're not going to be able to do this. Don't use a blowtorch or a butane torch or anything like that because you're going to mess it all up. You can get a cheap heat gun at Harbor Freight. They work great. I got this one. It's a high-end one. The only reason I have it is because I didn't have to pay for it. It was given to me. So you just turn it on. Get some heat going. Rotate that heat evenly. It doesn't take much. Pull this back around. Grab it from the outside. If you don't have a small piece of dowel, you can use an Allen head. Just be very careful. What you're going to do is slight bit of pressure on one side, slight bit of pressure on the other side, and just kind of work it around. And if it's warm, it'll pop right out without damaging the bearing. Don't put a lot of force on it. See how it's coming out? If you put too much force on it, you could damage the bearing, crush the race. Boom, it's out. And then flip it over. I just have this small piece of dowel. Got it from a Hobby Lobby when my wife dragged me there. Literally just set it on there. Make sure it rests on the outside of the race. The outside of the bearing, not the inside race. Nice and even, and you should be able to just pop, you should be able to just go boop, and it should fall right out. Which it did. It's right there. Now these little gizmos, they're hard to come by. It took me a while to find one. I finally tracked it down on eBay. It's called the Gadget. Not the best bearing greaser I've ever used. Gets the job done, no complaints. And if you're doing maintenance, it also cleans them. So you set it on here, it's tapered for different size bearings. If you were to say, you know, clean out a bearing and repack it, you'd pull this top plunger off and you just stick the tube in of like Nitro Force. Give it a couple sprays, there's vent holes on the bottom. It's gonna come out. And you know, you pull it out, dry it off, put this little channel in here. You don't need a lot of grease, I just put a little bit of grease in there. Take your plunger, this, push it in. Grab your bearing out. It's going to have excess grease on it. Throw it on a rag. Just clean off all that excess, because all you do is just push out all the old grease out of there. fresh grease in, so you don't need a bunch on the outside. This. Take your blade grip. Push it back in. One done. If they're used bearings, do not reuse it. If they're brand new bearings and you're just putting in new grease, you can get away with, you know, because most of the grease is going to be the new stuff. You can do it like that, but what you do is you just take your rag, wipe all that off, rub it in, it's back on, drop your guy on there, boom, pull this apart, squeeze a little bit of grease in there, and that's even a little much, but and just slowly push it, and you'll feel it bottom out. You'll hear it pushing it through the new bearing, or through the bearing, I'm sorry. Good to go. Pull this out. And usually what I'll do is, you know I'm going to be doing more bearings, so I don't bother cleaning it right now, but usually when I'm done, I like to clean everything up. I don't like putting stuff away dirty. This guy, go like this. Clean that bearing. Just a little cotton swab. Bearing set back in there. What I like to do is as I go, I just wipe everything down. Take a couple seconds to wipe it down real quick. I always wipe them down when I'm completely done building them, but if you kind of wipe as you go, it really cuts that task in half as far as time spent doing it. Put these guys back on here. You guys already know how to do this. Showed it earlier, so we're going to go ahead and just fast forward after I get everything reassembled and put back together, and we'll start working back down the head.